Hello everyone, I'm Rudrani, and today we are going to discuss another round of questions on inheritance. We'll be checking inheritance of a class within a class, which is also called nested class. For example, here we have a class A. Inside class A, we have a variable, a normal variable A, which is private to the class. We also have another class B, which is present inside class A. And there's a variable int b inside class B. So our focus here basically is this, that inside class A, we have another class that is class B. So this kind of structure is basically called a nested class. A nested class is also a member variable of the enclosing class and has the same access right as that of other members. That means here the access right of int A is private. Since we have not separately declared any other access specifier here, class B will also be private in this case. We must understand that this line, member functions of an enclosing class have no special access to the members of the nested class. Class B is the nested class, whereas the enclosing class is class A. That means the objects created inside class B will have access to class A, but the objects created inside class A will not have any special access to class B. We'll understand all this with the help of examples. There's a class A and we have this access specifier defined inside class A, after which we have declared class B. That means the scope of B is public. Inside B, we have int num, which has private scope. Then publicly, we have defined void getData and passed a parameter int n. We have initialized the value of num with n. We have another function void putData where we are printing the value of num. Then we come outside the class. We have int main, which is present inside class A. Then we are simply printing nested classes in C. It's a normal statement that we are printing. We create an object obj, which belongs to class B, which is present inside class A. Using obj, we call getData and pass a number. Then we use obj to call putData function. So the question here is, what will be the output? Will there be any error? So let's start solving this problem to understand if we face any error or not. Whenever we start a program, we know we should be starting with main function. So we come to int main, which is present inside class A. First statement, we will be printing nested classes in C. So the statement nested classes in C++ is the first statement that we'll be getting. We create the object obj of class B present inside class A. Then we call getData through obj and pass the parameter 9. So as we pass this parameter 9, here 9 is passed in getData. As a result, this num that is here gets initialized with n, that is 9. So the value of num changes to 9. After we finish the function of getData, we come back. Obj now calls putData. So we go up, we call putData. The output we get is the number is num. Num means 9. So the output will be the number is 9. So according to me, there will be no error. Let's check the answer. The answer is nested classes in C. That is the first statement we had discussed, followed by the number is 9. So there is no error. Let's come to question number 2. There is a class A inside which X is public, Y is private, and Z is protected. There's another class B which is using access specifier public pointing to class A. Int A is protected, int B is private. And inside this class B, we have another class called class C, which has access specifier public, calling B, and Q is private. So the question is, which of the following lists of data members are accessible in class C? As Q is present inside class C, Q is definitely accessible. We are using this public access specifier pointing to B. We know when we access a protected data member of the base class using the public keyword or public access specifier, that time we inherit that value in a protected manner only. That means A will be visible inside class C as protected. We know private data members cannot be inherited, so we will not take this into consideration. So B will be ignored. Now class B has been derived from class A. So let's go to class A. X is public. So as X is public, and we have been deriving it from public here as well as here, inside class C also it will be accessed publicly. Now Y is private. So we will be ignoring this because private data members cannot be inherited. Z is protected. That means it can be inherited using this public access specifier as protected only. So as it is visible inside B as protected, it will also be visible inside C as protected only. So Z will be visible. So X, Z, A and Q are accessible inside C. So which option will be correct? Option D will be correct. Now second question asks, which of the following lists of data members are accessible in class B? So whatever is present inside class B will be accessible to class B, whether it is protected or private. So A is accessible, B is also accessible. We are using inheritance publicly to inherit from class A. That means apart from private, we can inherit both public and protected. That means X is inheritable and Z is inheritable. So the answer will be option C, X, Z, A and B. Third question says, which of the following is true regarding the use of data member Y of class A? First option, it is accessible in class A, B and C. Let's check this first. Data member Y of class A. It is accessible in A, B and C. Is it true? Y is private. So Y cannot be accessed in any other class. So this statement is wrong. It can only be accessed inside A. This is wrong. It is accessible in A and B. Again wrong. It is accessible only in A. Yes, this is correct. But let's check the other options too. It is accessible in C. No. It is not accessible to any of the three classes. Again, no. So the answer is C. As int Y is private, and we know private data members cannot be inherited by any other class. It is only accessible within that particular class. That is why int Y is accessible only to class A. So here are the answers. First, we have discussed option D is correct. Second, we have discussed option C is correct. We have also discussed why integer Y is only accessible inside class A because it is private, so it cannot be inherited by its other subclasses. Let's come to question number 3. We have a class face-to-face. We have a private string called center code. We have public functions void input and output. We have another class online, which is also a base class like face-to-face because it has not been derived from any other class. We have a string called website, which is private. We have public functions site in and site out. We have another class called training that has been derived from face-to-face using access specifier public and private access specifier from online. So this kind of inheritance where you're deriving a class from multiple classes is known as multiple inheritance. Inside it, long T code, float charge and int period are private as access specifier is not defined. So by default it is private. And in public we have void register and void show. The first question says, which type of inheritance is shown in the above example? So as we have discussed that we are deriving one class, that is training class, from two separate classes, face-to-face and online. This is an example of multiple inheritance. Second question, write the names of all the member functions accessible from show function of class training. In class training, we have this function called show. A question says, write the names of all the member functions accessible from show. So as register is present inside class training itself, you can directly call it. So we can call register, of course. We are deriving class face-to-face publicly, which means void input and void output are also public in nature inside class training. So we can access input and output. Second, we have also derived class online using the private access specifier, which means these public functions site in and site out will become private inside training. But even if it is private inside training, we will be able to access, as it is a member function, we will be able to access. Therefore, site in and site out will also be able to be accessed. Therefore, as member functions, all these functions, show, register, input, output, site in and site out, will be accessible inside class training. Third question, write the names of all the members accessible through an object of class training. So if we have an object of this class training, the question asks which members can be accessed directly using an object. As register and show both are members of the class training, we can directly access them as both are public in nature. We have used the public keyword to access class face-to-face, which means the public functions input and output using the public keyword here as well are accessible. Both will be public in nature inside class training. But in case of online, which has used access specifier private for inheritance, these public functions site in and site out will become private inside class training. That is the reason they will not be able to be accessed directly using an object. So only input, output, register, and show will be accessible using an object of the class training. The fourth question asks, is function output accessible in function site out? Justify your answer. See, directly there is no link between face-to-face and online class. But using multiple inheritance inside class training, both are present inside class training. The only difference is site out is private in nature inside training and output is public in nature inside training. Since both are already present inside class training after inheritance, we can easily say that they can be accessed using an object of the face-to-face class because it is a public member. Since both of them are present inside class training, we can access both from each other inside class training. Since this question does not involve objects, we can easily understand using member functions, so we can easily access, right? So output is accessible inside site out using the class training. Here you can verify the answers. We have discussed multiple inheritance. We have discussed which functions are accessible using the member functions. We have also discussed which member functions are accessible using objects. We have also discussed why output function and site out function are accessible from each other. So yes, they can be accessed because both are present inside class training. The question 4 asks, which kind of inheritance is depicted below? This is a diagrammatic illustration. These questions usually come for 4-mark or 2-mark short questions. We can see student is the base class because we haven't derived student from any other class. We are deriving more classes from it, but it itself is not derived from any other class. So we can say student is the base class. We can see arts is being derived from student. This is a single level inheritance or simple inheritance. We can also see commerce has been derived using simple inheritance or single inheritance. Similarly, science is also derived using simple or single inheritance. But altogether, arts, science, and commerce depicts hierarchical inheritance because using one class student, we are deriving many classes, that is arts, science, and commerce. So individually, these are all single level inheritance, but together they are hierarchical inheritance. Again, from science, we are deriving two separate classes, that is medical and non-medical. So this also is a kind of hierarchical inheritance. Since we are showing hierarchical inheritance twice and simple inheritance also, this is the reason this is a kind of hybrid inheritance. Here A is the base class because A has not been derived from any other class, whereas B and C have been individually derived from A. So this shows hierarchical inheritance. Again, we are seeing that B and C are deriving another class, that is class D. That means class D has been derived from B and C. So class D here, this form of inheritance is showing multiple inheritance because two separate classes are deriving one class. As we can see, two forms of inheritance. In the first case, this is hierarchical inheritance. In the second case, this shows multiple inheritance. As a result, the entire structure is what? Hybrid. The entire structure here is hybrid inheritance because we are seeing both hierarchical and multiple inheritance here together. In this question, there is a class F. We can say F is a base class. Why is F a base class? Because it has not been derived from any other class. Is there any other class here which is not being derived from any other class? Yes. Class G is also a base class. It has not been derived from any other class. Class F is deriving class B and class E. So this form of inheritance where both of them are deriving, this is what? This is a hierarchical inheritance. This is a hierarchical inheritance. Whereas here you can see that class E is being derived from class F and class G together. So this is a form of multiple inheritance because two classes are deriving one particular class. Again here we are seeing that class B is deriving class A and class C. So this is also a form of hierarchical inheritance. We can see three different forms of inheritance out here. As a result, we can say this is a hybrid form of inheritance. This entire structure is a hybrid inheritance structure. These type of questions are very, very simple and easy to understand. Such questions are very frequently asked for 2 marks or 4 marks in the exam. So you must understand the structure of every form of inheritance, hierarchical, multiple, multi-level, so that it is easier for you to grasp and understand what form of inheritance is being shown. Let's come to the next question. This question has been taken from CBSE 2019 question set. There is a class employee. It has data member emp number, or you can say employee number, which is private. We have character employee name, employee address, and employee department. All these are private in nature. We have public function, employee input, and employee output. We have another class manager, which is being derived from employee class using the public access specifier. It has private data member, number of employee, and public member functions, input and print. So let's come to the questions first. The question says, which type of inheritance is shown in the above code? This is the program. So which kind of inheritance is shown here? This is single level inheritance because we can see only class manager is being derived. This is a simple or single level inheritance. Question 2 asks, name the base class and the derived class. These are all 4-mark questions. So these are very simple. Here, employee is the base class. Why is it the base class? Because it has not been derived from any other class. So which is the derived class? Derived class is manager. Why? Because it is being derived from class employee. So manager becomes derived and employee becomes base. Third question asks, name all the private data members of class employee. So which are the private data members of class employee? We can see emp number, that is private. We can see character emp name, character emp address, and character emp department. All these are private to employee. So this is the answer of the question. These are all private data members of class employee. The fourth question asks, name all the public member functions of class manager. So which are the public member functions of class manager? Using public keyword, we will check and we will find input and output. These two are public member functions of class manager. Now I know this question was very easy, but such simple questions only are asked during your exam. So basically you have to understand what a base class is, what a derived class is, what are the private members of the class, and what are the public members of the class. If you understand all these, and if you can understand the hierarchy of the data structure, that is which kind of inheritance is being happening, then you're good to go for the exam. So if you have your basics clear, inheritance is a very easy chapter. Let's check the answers. Yeah, simple inheritance we have discussed. We have discussed which is the base and derived class. We have discussed the private members of employee, which is this. We have also discussed member functions of manager, which is void input and output. So we have already discussed everything. Thank you. We'll have a quick revision tour in our next video. So you can have a quick analysis of all forms of inheritance in our final questionnaire video on inheritance.